Yeah. Okay. So you know how the conspiracy theorists they talk about gates and stuff like that. There's Pizzagate, Watergate, all these gates and shit. Okay. So I know they're tied up to some of them, some not so pleasant things, which I'm not even going to regurgitate here on the video. But if you know what I'm talking about, like Pizzagate and the links to what that can be associated with and stuff like that. Well, I was thinking about these gates. When you're doing your healing journey, when you're going on a specific mission quest, whatever you want to call it, for yourself, when you quit drinking, you quit smoking, you change your diet, if you start fasting, if you start exercising, all this stuff, when you start cutting out social media or television, like unplugging yourself from the matrix, so to speak, it makes it, the matrix itself is set up to make it very difficult because you become codependent on it if you have, and it is a form of comfort. So if there's healing that needs to be done, there's going to be temptations there. Same with your body and everything too, when it comes to if you're used to having multiple partners or something like that, or if you're just used to not having sex at all, those sort of things. When you start making changes, things will tempt you in a certain way that it's almost kind of frustrating because you're like, yeah, it's my life and I'm a grown adult, so to speak, and I want to do this and this brings me comfort and I should be able to do this or have a drink or whatever. The whole idea of having self-discipline is once you gain control over yourself, let's, for example, say fasting or something like that. When you gain complete control over yourself, it allows you certain access to certain energies or even different vibrational frequencies. The moment you've taken back your control of yourself and nobody else has control over you, which they shouldn't. Nobody should control how you think. Nobody should control how you speak, how you act, what you do on a regular basis, how you live your life, so on and so forth. Nobody should be controlling that. And unfortunately, sometimes people fall victim to the whole idea of the matrix and the way the system's set up, and they get drawn into certain things, especially when something becomes a habit. But once you pull yourself out of that, I noticed that these things they call gates, okay? Let's say, for instance, the Pizzagate, okay? Now, let's say that's become your comfort food. And somebody once told me because it's associated with like the things in your childhood past of, parties, good events, good memories and stuff like that, it makes it kind of like a comfort food, which it is if you think about it. It becomes sort of like a gate because I know a lot of grown adults that when they're living on their own and they're very busy, a lot of them will turn to ordering takeout or ordering things like pizza or something like that. And it becomes like a habit instead of being able to cut that out, almost like a junk food, right? Or sugar. There should be something called sugar gate. I'm not going to lie. If that's already a thing, I have yet to look it up, but Sugargate itself should be one because it's almost like these barriers that are placed there for you during your whole, making yourself the best version of yourself, or what people like to call ascension or development of your being, right? Your existence and how you want to live in the 3D. Like it's almost like these gates that are set up for people. And when you get stuck at a gate, it's almost like, you know, different levels. So they say new levels, new devils, new challenges, because the devil itself can be just habits. It can be bad habits or things that you get stuck on, things that kind of keep you trapped. And the whole idea, as well as being like somebody that performs for people. For instance, me here doing the YouTube thing and making videos. Now, has this become an obsession? No. I basically make a bunch of videos and then I pre-post them, and it gives me more than enough time to not fixate on it. Do I care if I get more viewers? No, because I know there's an audience for everything on YouTube. There will be people that come across my videos that really truly appreciate what I have to say or have something they can take away from that and learn for themselves or get some insight on certain things that maybe they would never have thought of, or maybe have them look at things in a different aspect, right? Look at things from a different point of view to open and expand their minds if they're not already open already. So I have no worries about getting stuck on that, but I do believe that there are certain levels that as we are expanding our consciousness or becoming the best version of ourselves, keep us kind of snagged a little bit. And you can unsnag yourself. You have to be able to say, you know what, as much as I really want to do this because it brings me comfort, or as much as I really enjoy this sensation or feeling, it doesn't mean you have to stop altogether. It just means being able to bring yourself to a certain point where you're no longer dependent on it. So, for example, drinking. Most people are dependent on drinking so that they don't have to think, so that they don't have to sit with themselves, so they get the euphoric feeling without doing any of the other work, and so on and so forth. When you've cut that off from yourself and you become sober, you want to do AA or something like that for a long period of time, the moment you start healing things within yourself and realize you don't need a drink anymore, let's say after 3 years you have a drink and you're like, I really don't want it. It's nice, but like I really don't crave it anymore. That's the moment you realize you're no longer dependent on it. And that's what should be like a green light for most people. You don't need to smoke, it's not good for you. If you cut off smoking altogether, and I'm talking not just cigarettes, but let's say marijuana or something like that, if you cut it off altogether and you take that away from yourself, well, not only the next time you smoke weed is your tolerance level going to be like really low, so it's only going to take a little bit. But then you have to ask yourself, am I dependent on this now? Do I feel the need to keep smoking just so I can forget about certain other things? Or am I doing this to indulge, to help myself? And a lot of people use it for pain. But again, when it comes to certain traumas and stuff, that can manifest in the form of physical ailments. Keep that in mind. So if we're not looking at the root source of something that could be causing something else, then smoking it away is not going to help any. It's just a temporary band-aid almost. And there are some people that are truly healed and they just smoke to relax and calm themselves, but they're not dependent on it. They don't do it all the time. It's maybe once a month or something like that, like a treat. Like as if anything, when we're kids, we're not allowed to eat candy every day as much as we like to, but sometimes we are given a treat. There's that certain self-discipline, or that little bit of like a guidance we give ourselves, and we can do that ourselves. We can manage what it is we're consuming, whether it be visually, auditory, or what we're eating, all of which is consumption of something. And we should be very mindful of what we're taking in. We're responsible for that. Once you hit a certain age, you're responsible for what you take in and what you do with your body and how you treat yourself, how you think about yourself, all those things. And yes, there's going to be certain things from our past that are trying to still dictate, old programming, trying to still dictate how we live our lives. And believe it or not, if you haven't done any of the shadow work or healing, you take that in with you. You take that with you into adulthood, and it literally governs the choices that you make in your everyday life. If there's certain things that are not healed, there's going to be certain things you avoid, or maybe choices you make that are more safe, or maybe things that you do that are going to guarantee that you're not going to get into anything that's going to trigger you because you haven't looked at it. You don't want to look at it, and the thought about looking at it is terrifying. That's not healthy. It's not healthy at all. Most people that are very successful have turned around and faced their fears dead on and be like, you know what, this scares me, but I'm going to do it anyways. The moment you overcome that fear, no matter what it is. I used to have a fear of spiders, and I picked that up really young. And the moment I faced my fear, now it was almost liberating, because now it's no longer holding me hostage. It's no longer preventing me from doing certain things. And I know that's just a small example, but in itself, the moment you start facing your fears, you start realizing it is just within your consciousness. It is usually put there just as a concept to kind of prevent you from harm or anything like that. You're not in any harm, and you're not in any danger, and fear is a concept, and there is nothing to be afraid of. The only thing you should be concerned about is your thoughts, because they can actually manifest into reality, and you are co-creating with the universe itself, in my opinion. So it's very important that you are aware of how you're seeing things, how you're looking at things. Even now, pulling away from certain things in reality that is like an everyday thing in the system, it's weird when I get back into it. Like when I started going back out to watch a movie, or when I went out to a place to eat dinner, when I wasn't fasting, or when I go to a bar or a club, after being away from it for so long, it was so weird to get back into it. And at one point I was like wilding out a little too much. I was celebrating myself a little too much, and I had to pull back because I'm like, okay, you're getting a little bit carried away. But I recognized it. So I made the conscious decision to get myself back on track and say, this is not going to be leading me in anywhere beneficial for me. And it's not really going to be helping me at all. And I'm not really codependent on it, nor do I need it. It's just fun. And sometimes all work, no play will make you dull, right? So you got to be able to balance the two. But there's other ways of having fun. And yeah, so the whole idea of the gates, I really do think that they put a spin on certain ones, and they're associated with certain things that are not pleasant to talk about, that realistically exist in our world, and it's not okay, in my opinion. And then I think the whole idea of gates that are put there for people trying to better themselves is to kind of get you caught up, whatever it may be. That's just a thought. It's just an idea that popped into my head and a possibility. But I just wanted to share that.